ZAYÖN OFFICIEL. Audiobook, English version. Audiobook. Introduction. This audiobook is not a story created to impress. It is a real journey, shaped by music, silence, patience, and faith in the future. Before the songs, there were sleepless nights. Before the melodies, there were responsibilities. Before recognition, there was doubt. Music did not arrive as a sudden dream. It grew slowly, on the margins of everyday life, between work, family, and struggles no one sees. Every song was born from a lived moment, a moment where standing firm was the only option, a moment where moving forward mattered more than answers. ZAYÖN OFFICIEL is not a character, it is a voice that speaks what many feel, but few are able to express. This audiobook is an invitation to listen differently, to understand that behind every note, there is a story, a struggle, and a quiet hope. Chapter 1. Before the music. Before the music, there was life, an ordinary life, demanding, sometimes heavy, often silent. Days that started early, nights that ended late, responsibilities that left no room for hesitation. Decisions made without certainty, but made anyway. Music was not a priority. It wasn't even a plan. It existed quietly, in the background, waiting for its moment. First, there was endurance, being present for others, carrying what had to be carried, putting what mattered first. There were silences no one noticed, thoughts kept inside, questions without answers, and the habit of not complaining because stability was already expected. Music watched all of this. It absorbed the fatigue, the unspoken hopes, the strength built in silence. Before the songs, there was a quiet promise, not to fall, not to run, to keep moving forward with dignity. Music didn't create the strength, life demanded it. Music would come later, when words were no longer enough, when silence asked to be heard. Chapter 2. When music becomes necessary. There comes a moment when silence is no longer enough. Not a scream, not an explosion, just a quiet overflow that settles in without warning. Music didn't come to entertain, it didn't come to please. It came because something had to be released somewhere. Words held back for too long, search for another form. They become murmured phrases, simple melodies, refrains that speak without explaining. Writing wasn't an artistic act, it was balance, a way to stay upright without saying everything. Without accusing, without exposing. Each note allowed breathing, each text restored order. Not to forget, but to continue without losing oneself. Music took the place silence could no longer hold. It welcomed what couldn't be shared otherwise. And that was already enough. Chapter 3. Songs as Testimonies. No song was written to convince, none to explain, even less to defend. Each song is a testimony, not a version of events, a trace. Some speak of absence, others of distance, sometimes of love, sometimes of exhaustion, often of restraint. Nothing is forced, nothing exaggerated. Words are chosen to remain true, even when they hurt. Songs don't seek approval. They exist for those who recognize what they themselves have lived. Sometimes someone listens and recognizes themselves without knowing why. That is when music fulfills its role, not by being understood, but by being felt. Chapter 4. What music doesn't always say. Music says a lot, but it doesn't say everything. Some things remain outside the songs, out of respect, out of discretion, by choice. Not everything needs exposure. Not everything needs explanation. Music draws a boundary. It stops where intimacy begins. Because dignity isn't loud, it stands quietly. Conclusion. Moving forward, even in silence. Music continues, not to be heard at all costs. This audiobook wasn't created for noise. It was created for those who know how to listen differently. The story ends here. The journey
If we speak with intention, we'll be alright. Let the truth come slow. No sharp edges, no control. Say it comes.